So fine. So we'll now we'll start with our lecture. Fine. I hope that I am clearly audible to you guys. Fine. So we were on the last in the last lecture. We all have discussed about the network layer. Fine. We were discussing the protocols. We were discussing about some of the network layer functioning. Fine. Today we are going to start with the new topic, which is the design issue in the network layer. I hope this will be audible to you guys all. I hope that this is audible to you all. Please just raise your hand if it's fine with you guys. Is it visible to you all? Fine. Thank you. That's it. So let me quickly recap some of the things which we are doing. We were talking about the some of the protocols like DNS, routing protocols, RIP. We talked about DHCP, some of the protocols which have been mentioned by me in the last lecture. Fine. So today we are going to start with some network layer design issues in network layer. But before that, I have given you some of the things to learn about the MIME protocol and the SMT protocol. I hope that you guys have read about it. Fine. So before actually going, we have also discussed the function and the functionality of the network layer in the OSI model. Fine. So let me just quickly get to know that whether you are actually doing your part on learning these things or not. Let me just create a quickly a pool question for you guys so that I'll be able to know that you are getting all the things which I've been mentioning from the start about the network layer. Fine. Just moving ahead to into the design issues of the network layer. Let me just quickly find answer from you guys that which of the following is not the functions of network layer. You just have to create answer that. I am creating a pool for you guys, and I hope that you all will be able to answer that particular question. Fine, because you all have know that you we all have read about the network layer in the OSI model, and you will be easily available to now give answer that which of the following is not the are not the is not the function. Let me just clear it. Is not the function of the network layer. Fine, and I hope that all of you will be able to give the answer. Just think about it clearly. Fine, just think about it clearly, and you have to answer it. Just take your time and think about it that which of the following is not the function of the network layer. Yeah, very good. Hurry up, bache. Just think about it, bache. Network layer, we are talking about routing. In the network layer, there are routed protocols, there are routing protocols which we were discussing. There is one thing which is not the functionality of the network layer from these above mentioned. Just quickly answer that so that I'll be able to know. Yes, bache, hurry up. Very good. Abhishek Chauhan, Abhishek Goyal, bache, are you there? Abhishek Singh, Aditya Yadav, Adya Srivastava, Ankush Singh has not answered. 17 more left, bache, hurry up. Garvit Saxena, just think about it, bache, hurry up. Very nice. 10 more left. Good. Great going, bache. 7, 6 more left. Hurry up. 5 more seconds to go. Hurry up, bache. Prabjot, you have not answered, bache. Hurry up. Just 2 more seconds to go so that I'll show you the answer. Utsav, bache, you have not answered again. Till now, you have not answered it, bache. Hurry up. Okay, fine. I'll generate the report and we'll look into the matter that why these students are not being active in my class or why they are not being answering to my class. Fine. So I'll quickly show you the responses. So there are 4 responses which are still left, and the right answer for this particular question is error control. Why? Because error control is the mechanism which uses some CRC redundancy method, cyclic redundancy, or the checksum, which is being done at the layer 2. Fine, which is being done at the layer 2, which is data link layer. Fine. So the right answer is error control. Utsav, is it is visible to you? I think you have some internet issues, bache. It is visible to all. There are students which have answered it. Only 5 has not answered. Fine. Very great. correct answer is the that which of the following is not the function of network layer is the error control, because it is being done by the data link layer. Fine. I hope this is clear to you. So the next we are going to talk about the design issues. And while as being a network administrator, fine, on the network layer, our main focus is that how the routes are going to be built. Na? When data needs to be transferred from one device to another device, the main thing which we have to be taken care is that how the route is going to be established and how data packets are going to be transferred from one device to another device. Fine. For that we know that we required some of the routed protocols and we required some of the routing protocols. Fine. The routed protocols are used to build the route between two different which is being used to send the data from one route to the other route. Fine. For that, routed protocols are being used, which include IP. We have talked about IP or Apple one, Apple or IPv4 and IPv6 are the routed protocols which are basically being used. Fine, because they are used to send the data from one route to another route. That's why they are talking about the routed protocols. Why we talk about routing protocols? But say these are the routing protocols which includes the dynamic routing protocols, or like we talk about RIP, routing information protocol. We will talk that in the next upcoming lecture. Then we talk about the OSPF, open shortest path first. We talk about the EIGRP, enhanced integer gateway protocols. So these are the routing protocols which are used in a particular network. Fine. So we come to this design issue now. So we know that first functionality of the design issue of the network layer is address, then which maintains the address at both the frame header of both source and destination, and it perform addressing to detect various devices. Then packeting is also one of the functions which include that it is performed by internet protocol, refers to as IP, including IPv4, IPv6. The network layer converts the packet from its upper layer and send it to the above layer. Fine. So another various issues which we can see in routings, that whether the data is going to be reliably sent to the other device or not, or whether that if I am sending some data, for example, if this is a particular device sending this data to the other device B, whether the data is going to be accepted by the second device or not. This is also one of the main factor, or which can be included in the design issue of the network. If any of the packet is going to be sending to this particular transmission channel, whether how much delay or how much jitter can be, how much delay or how much jitter can be done, can be accumulated in that particular sending of the packet from one device to another device. Delays the actual time it is going to be take from going from one device to reaching to some other device. That refers to as delay, that how much time it takes from for data packet to reach from one device to another device. Whereas if we talk about jitter refers to the difference in the delay. For example, there are three packets which are being transferring a data which is divided into packets. Now this is going to be sending to the other device. Now let's suppose the jitter says the difference in the delay. That means if one packet reaches here, what is the time actually taken by the difference in the other packet to reach there? That refers to as the jitter. So there is a bit of difference between them. Fine. Delay, I am again going to repeat it. Delay refers to the time it is going to take for one packet, for one data to reach from device A to device B. Fine, that is the delay. Whereas jitter refers to variance in the delay. Let me write it. Jitter refers to variation in the delay. Fine. That means if a data is being divided into the different packets, how much variation in between these packets to to the other end, that refers to as the jitter. So these are the issues which design issues which have to be taken care, that how route is going to be built, what is the connection we have to be made, or what is the reliability of my network. If there are going to be more and more number of packets in a particular network, then it is going to create a congestion, and if congestion becomes more, my packets are going to be lost. and it will affect the end to it will affect the end delay, the throughput, the mobility of my network. So these are the issues which need to be taken care of in the particular network. Fine. So this is the functioning. That routing is the functioning of the network layer, and also the internetworking, which we have already been discussed in the OSI model. Fine, or before that particular lecture. I hope yet do you all get the idea that what we are talking about? What we are talking about, the design issues. Are we all getting it, bache? Please raise your hand so that I'll get the confirmation from you guys. Till now, any doubt to anyone? Are we all good? Sure, we get to know that what is fine. So fine. Moving to the next slide. So first we talk about the different network layer design issues. That what are the different design issues which we have? Fine. This include the store and forward packet switching. The first network design issue which we have is the how it is going to store and forward the packet switching. Fine. The second network design issue is that the services which are being provided to the transport layer, then the implementation of the connection list services, then the implementation of connection oriented services, and then we'll compare about the virtual circuit and the datagram subnet, which is being respectively used in the connection less services and the connection oriented service. So moving with the next slide, first we are going to talk about the first network design issue. First network design issue which we are going to talk about is the store and forward packet switching. Fine. Now, I think we all can clearly see from here that diagram that Swapnil Jain. Bache, do you have any doubt? Swapnil, do you have bache any doubt till now? Swapnil, bache, you have doubt? You are raising your hand. Please clear it. No, okay, fine. Just don't raise your hand. Fine. So first issue which we are going to talk about is stored and forward packet switching. So we know that whenever a data needs to be processed from one device to another device, this particular diagram we can see that there are different routers which have been attached. Fine, the router A, router B, router C, router D, router E, and F. Fine, and this particular circle which has been made is referred to as a particular network. I can say that it is a particular network. Fine, or I can say it subnet. Can I say that it is a particular subnet as well as a network? Yes or no, bache? Can I say that this is a particular network or also a subnet? Because subnet also refers to a particular network. Can I say that? Yes, I can definitely say that it is a particular subnet. And that I can clearly see there are different routers. Now, when data need to be processed from this particular device to the other device, it need to first check for the neighbor. Fine, it need to first send the first data packet to its particular nearest neighbor, which is, we can say, A, because data need to be sent to some other network. For example, P1 is in some other network and P2 is on some other network. When it need to send data, it need to be passed through routers. That's what the functionality of the network layer is. And this actually told that whenever the data packets which are divided into different parts, it uses the store and forward packet switching. Fine. In the store and forward packet switching, what it does that whenever a packet comes to A, and when it need to send to, for example, any particular route, because it know that from A there are two different routes, A and B. Let's suppose it chooses the shortest path. We assume let's suppose it chooses the shortest path and it send the packet to the other router, which is C. Now, when it sends the packet, it uses this store and forward packet switching. Why? Because until and unless this whole packet does not receive it to the router C, the router A will store that packet and then forward it to the C. And until and unless this whole packet is not being transferred to the C, this A will not drop that packet. Fine. What I mean to say that while forwarding a particular packet to the another router, it use store and forward. when it forward a particular packet, it doesn't lost that packet. It actually stores the copy of that particular packet to itself, the router, and until and unless that packet is not fully received to the router C, it will not it will store it to itself. Fine. uh, with that also, it also checks the error control, because might be an issue. We know that there might be an issue come that when data packet is going to be received from A side to the A router to the B router, we know that there might be chances that data the sequence of the data might be changed, or there might be some error in my particular data. Yes or no? Might can happen. So that's why it uses stored and forward packet switching method, and it also checks the error control mechanism. For that, there are two methods I have already mentioned. The one method is the CRC, and the other method which has been using is the checksum. Fine. So in this particular example, I'll explain you the checksum method, and I'll request you to guys to just please after this lecture read about CRC. Fine. Read about the cyclic redundancy error control method. We'll discuss that if you have some doubt. So I'll explain you the checksum. Fine. So in case of the checksum, let me actually share my black white whiteboard. So what it does that in case of sending the packet, store and forward packet already been mentioned, then when data is transferred to there, the whole packet until and unless it not reaches to this particular router C, it device A will actually store that packet to itself and then forward it. Fine. Now for that, what it actually uses the checksum method for the error checking method, for the error checking protocol. So what it does that, for example, there are different packets which are being divided. For example, my data is divided into different packets. Fine, we are talking about IPv4, and we know that each is packet is going to be divided into the 8-bit. Fine, suppose 8-bit, 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 and 8-bit. Let's just I took just an example that it takes a data and divide it to the 4 parts. Fine, and it is going to send. And let's suppose the data is the, for example, I am writing down the number like 6, 5, let's 2, and let's suppose 1. Fine, this is the data packets with the number, because we know that the data whenever it is going to be sent, it is going to be converted into bits. Fine. I hope that I have already explained you guys the binary representation of all the numbers, that how we are going to enable. I am not going to write it. So what it does that at the sender side, it actually it actually sum all the data. That's why it refers to sum data and check it. Now first in the first representation of the number is 1. On the sender side I am talking about, it is 1. Then on the inside it is 6. So it will add it to here, that 1 plus 6 7 plus 5 12 plus 2 14. So on the other side, what it does with the packets, will the all these packets, it actually add a particular checksum bit. It actually adds a particular another actually packet with the name checksum, and it will write the complement of that total number. So what is the total number of data on the different packets? 1 plus 6 7 plus 5 12 plus 2 14. So it will actually write the complement. I am just writing the number here. Fine. In actual transmission, it actually represents the binary bit 0 1 form. The data is actually in the 0 1 form. Just for the simplicity, I am writing down the number. So what it does at the sender side, will these whole packets, it add another field with the checksum, in which it writes the total representation of the number with its complement. I hope this is clear to you guys till now. Is it clear to you guys? Just raise your hand. Are you all there? Bache? Are you all getting it? Yeah, fine. So when the data is now going to be receive at the receiver end, it receive all the data. Fine. It is going to receive all these packets with the packet number which is 1. Let's suppose the other is the 6. So other is the 5. Then at the last it is going to receive the 2. Fine. In a sequence. So at the receiver again, it is going to check for the all the data fine, that 1 plus 6 plus 5 plus 2, it is going to be 6 plus 1 7 plus 7 plus 5 12 plus 2 14. And when it get the whole data that 14 bits number are being received receiver end, so it will add that into the complement. It will add the whole data, that it will add the number 14 in the form of binary, whatever the binary representation is, like 0001, whatever it is not the right, I am just taking an example. So it will add its total number of bits to the receiver checksum data, that 14. It will add it to it, fine. And after adding whatever the result is, it is going to the complement of the result. It is going to take the complement, or I can say in normal term, in a lame language, is inverse, to take the inverse of that particular number. And if it's the complement, or the after adding or after taking the inverse, if all the required, all the sum is going to be 0, it says that there is no error. If after adding its whole data received with the checksum, with the inverse of the checksum, if it adds at the receiver end, and if the result of this adding with the checksum and its own data is 0, I can say that there is no error in my data. That's how it is going to check. If there is a error in the one bit, that after adding and taking the complement or the inverse, if there is a error, if there is a one bit to any particular field, it says that there is a error of one bit. I say single bit error, one single bit error. If there are two bits which were changed after receiving the data, for example, it actually there are two bits, two field which are going to be changed, or that more than two or more than one, I can say. If there are two or more number of bits which are going to be changed, I can say this error is the burst error. Fine. So there is a difference. At the receiver end, checksum, what it does, it add all the data in the form of binary number. Then it add a field of checksum and add number to here with its inverse, fine, with its complement. At the receiver end, all the packets which are going to be received, add it. And the receiver side, it will not end up to by this, up to adding this, it will also add the data with the checksum field, which is the complement. And if the result of both after is going to be 0, 000, any in the form of 8 bit, I can say there is no error. If there are bits which are going to be changed, I can say there is an error. If there is only one bit change, I can say this is a one bit error. If there are more than one bits which are going to be changed, I refer to as is a burst error. I hope this error redundancy checksum, that how it is going to check the error control method, is clear to you guys. Is it fine? Are we all get it? Bache? Do we all get it? Sure, easy? Easy for you guys? Great, fine. So moving back to the, so your task for you guys is to, you have to check for the CRC method, fine. So you have to read about the CRC, and we'll discuss that in the next lecture. This is the first method of the error control. It's the checksum, which I have explained to you guys. So you must have to learn about the CRC. So we were on this particular diagram. So it uses this forward, store and forward technique, that it store the whole data until and unless it is going to be fully received at the C after the error, after checking the error control method. Right? So this store and forward packet switching technique, the data is being divided into the smaller packets. The packets are being transmitted from node to node. That's the link between the router A and router C or B is referred to as the nodes, fine, is processed, and then it is forward. It is also known as the store and forward switching. So there are two types of connections which are going to be made between the different routers or for the connection, which is connectionless, and one is the connection oriented. For the connectionless, it is referred to as the datagram packet, and for the connection oriented, it is referred to as the virtual circuit. We'll discuss that, fine. So this is the first design issue, which is store and forward. That's how it is going to be used, that particular technique, and send by using the error and control method. The second type of the second design network design issues which we have is when the service is provided to the transport layer. Fine, because we know when data is going to be received at the other end, it is going to be again run through the physical layer, data link layer, network layer. Then it need to provide it to the transport layer. Fine. It says that whatever the services which need to be provided from network layer to transport layer, it should be independent of the router technology, because we know that what the router, any technology, for example, any routing protocol or any of the uh, any different vendor of this router is, it should be independent of that service. Fine. The topology of network should be hidden. Whatever the topology, either ring topology or mesh topology, bus, anything, any topology which has been used, it should not be, it should be hidden, and it should not be sent to the transport layer to the information about the topology to the transport layer from the network layer. This should be hidden. These are the roles, responsibility, fine, as being a network administrator. And we'll get different design issues whenever we design a particular network. We'll get these different issues in that particular services which are being, either we are, it is going to use store and packet forward switching technique, or it is going to provide services to transport layers. So we have to deal with these design issues while creating a particular network or as being a network administrator. Fine. So then the network addresses available to transport layers should be uniform, even across LANs or WAN, whatever the network we are going to be used. And network layer designers, that network administrator, have the freedom in writing specifications of services to the transport layer, that whatever the specification, that this is this particular, for this particular route we are going to use this packet, or this is the bandwidth, this is the maximum transport transmission unit, whatever the specifications which have been, which we are going to be described for our network, it should have freedom to freedom for the network administrator to write all this and provide these particular services, which should be independent of router, which topology should be hidden to the transporter. Fine. So moving to the next particular slide, that the third type of the network design issue which we have to talk about, that either we are going to provide the connection oriented or the connectionless. Fine. So when we talk about the connectionless, router's job is moving the packet, nothing else. A subnet is inheritably unreliable, because we know that in terms of connectionless, there is no guarantee that the packets which are going to be lost, it should be transmit again. Fine. In terms of that, we are talking about unreliability. Host should provide error and flow control. Fine. Uh, we talk about the internet community. These are connection lines. When we talk about telephone companies, we have talked about the landline provided. They provide the connection oriented. It should be reliable service, the successful in experience with the telephone system, and without connection, quality of service is very hard to achieve. We know that. Fine. So the third network design issue we are going to talk about is the implement. Hardik, yes, bache, you have doubt? Please, bache, you can speak if you have doubt. Hardik, you want to bache talk? You have doubt, bache? Hardik? Then please don't raise the hand in between the lectures. Fine. Because the raising the hand means that it's confirmation to me that you have some doubt. Fine. I hope that I am actually okay. No issues. I hope that I am. We all are with the that I am teaching you at a very good pace, and you are all are understanding it. It's fine to you guys. Are we all getting it? Sure, na? Is it fine to you guys, na? Sure, fine. So the third type of the design issue, as being a network administrator, which we have to be focused, is the implementation of the connectionless service. Fine. So in the connectionless service, what it does, as you all, you can zoom a screen. Fine. If the diagram is not visible to you, I have zoomed it from my end. You can also zoom it from your end also. Now see, we are now going to implement the connectionless service. In the connectionless service, when the data, see these are the two hosts, H1 and H2, which are going to share some data with itself. We know a network is made, or I can say a subnet is made, fine, with the help of ISP, internet service provider equipment, we have different routers and a packet. Same diagram which we have used in the first design issue. Fine. So in this we can clearly see that when this process one or host one need to send some information to the host two in the terms of some packets, and it divides the whole packets into four parts, which is packet 1, packet 2, packet 3, packet 4. So when packet P1, it is going to look for the nearest neighbor, which is A, and it is going to send the packet. So now let's suppose from A, it has two choices, either to send it to B or either to send it to C. We are going to see in the routing next topic, which is of routing algorithm, that on basis of what particular algorithm it decide that which route it need to be followed or path it needs to be followed. So we'll see that. Till I'm raising some of the design issues which we have to be take care. Fine. And now we are talking about implementation of connectionless. So when we implement connectionless service, let's suppose the packet one is going to be transmitted through this particular channel and reaching to host A, host H2. The second packet also follow this path. The third packet also follow this path. But let's suppose when packet 4 comes, the from the router A, it's sent to the other path. It might can happen because we know that there is no actually sequence in case of the connectionless service. It is going to be followed because it is a connectionless. That means the packets which are going to be lost is not going to be retransmit. The second is there is no surety reliability that the my order of the packet, my sequence of the packet is going to be received at the same end, at the same site. So the problem might can happen in the connectionless service that some of the packet follow a particular path and some other packets can be sent to some of the other path which it can follow. That is the issue which we can have in case of the connectionless. Fine. This is also one of the design. So in connectionless service, no connection setup. Fine. The message is broken into different packets, and these packets are referred to as datagram. Fine, which I have already explained. In terms of connectionless, it is referred to as datagram. Each packet is individually routed because the each of the router has its own technology, has its own inbuilt algorithm according to which it route the packet. So it might can happen that each packet is individually routed on its own, and routers decide lines based upon the router decides line based upon the routing table, and packets may follow different path. That is the problem which we have. Sir, please explain the tables under the diagram. Okay, see, these are the routing tables, bache. Just an example. I have made it not clear to you guys because by the time I am going to explain you the routing algorithms, that we are going to use the distance vector routing or the link state routing, I'll be making the routing table at that time. That's why I didn't explain it to get you confused, because right now I'm just focusing on the part that design issues in the network were. That's why I remain it up to this, Gurdeep. I hope that you understand. Tables will be clear to you fine in the next topic when we are going to explain, when I am going to explain that what is the difference between static routing and dynamic routing. And in the dynamic routing, we have two different categories, which is distance vector routing, the link state routing. And in the distance vector routing, it is going to use the Bellman-Ford algorithm. And in case of the link state routing, it actually follows the Dijkstra algorithm, fine, for finding the shortest path. And at that time, I'll explain you the different tables, which routing tables are going to be made. And in case of link state routing, what are the tables which are going to be made according to the routers, fine. So packets may follow different path in case of this implementation of connection less, then there is no guarantee to arrive that there is no reliability. So that one design issue might can comes when we talk about this implementation of connection less, and the packet, it is in the form of datagram. So the fourth actually the issue which we have is the implementation of the connection oriented, fine. So in the connection oriented, we know the path from the source to destination must be established before any data which can be sent. So one thing which is very clear, that in case of connection oriented, whatever the data which need to be sent, fine, For that, the path must be established for data. Connection here in the last, it is referred to as datagram, whereas connection here, in case of connection oriented, it is referred to as the virtual circuit. Fine. It is the analogy with the physical circuit in your phone. Fine. uh, then it is avoid choosing the new route for each packet, because in the connection oriented, whatever the path the one packet follow, the other packets are going to be follow the same path. Fine. And for every particular devices which are going to send some data to a device, it is going to follow the same path. And if it is going to follow the same path, there might be an issue that there might be a lot of congestion in my particular network, which will actually affect my bandwidth of the network, which actually going to be which actually going to affect the my congestion in that particular network. Then my packets can be lost, because if there are more and number of packets in my network at the same time, it will result in the breakdown of a network. That means result in the loss of packets. Fine. Because in connection oriented, we have already explained, there is only one path which is going to be followed for every other device to send the information to that. It might can use other also, but initially we are talking about this particular example. So same routers used for all packets in connection. See, same route used for all packets in connection. If for the one packet it follows this router, it is going to follow for the same second, for the third, and the fourth also, because that's why it is referred to as the connection oriented. And whatever the sequence in which my data is at the sender side, the same sequence it is going to be received at the receiver side also, because it is a connection oriented. Fine. So each packet has its own ID, which is referred to as label, to which we find that whether the packet belongs to the same network or the different network. We are going to talk about it, and for which the VC virtual circuit it belongs to. From this ID, we'll be able to identify that to which particular virtual circuit this particular packet belongs to. So these are some of the issues which we have to be focused uh, on, which we have to focus as being a network administrator while working in the network layer. Fine. The implementation of connection oriented, the implementation of connectionless, the store and forward packet switching, and the others which we have discussed. Fine. So this is just a comparison between the virtual circuit and the datagram. So already been explained to you guys. I'll quickly read about these some of the points. That issue circuit setup is the issues in the datagram subnet. Not needed circuit setup because it is a connection less. In case of virtual, it is required before sending the packet. Addressing issue: each packet contain the full source and destination address, because it is a connection less. So it should know that to with this particular source or destination it is going to transmit, otherwise it is going to be, the packet is going to be lost. So in this, each packet contain a short VC number which is referred to as ID. From that it will be able to judge that to which particular VC network it belongs to. State information: routers does not hold state information about connections. Each VC require router tables or per connection. That means for every connection which is going to be built in that particular virtual circuit, it is going to made a particular router table for each, in which the information is being collected. So routing: each packet in the connection less, each packet is routed independently, whereas router chosen when VC is all set up, and all packets, other packets will follow that particular path. What is the effect of router failures in case of connectionless and in case of connection oriented? In case of connectionless, if the router fails, it doesn't affect except for the packet loss during the crash. And if that routers fail, all the VC that pass through the failed routers are terminated. That will also end this. So quality of service in case connectionless, it is very difficult. And in case of virtual circuit, easy if enough resources be allocated in advance for each VC. Congestion control also is very difficult in case of connectionless, and in case of virtual circuit, or referred to as connection oriented, it is easy if the enough resources can be allocated again in advance for VC circuits. So these are some of the issues which we have discussed in our this lecture. So if any one of you have any doubt till now, you may ask me, fine, and we can. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Which till now the different design issues which we have talked about till now. Or is it clear to you guys? Are we clear with this, bache? If you have any doubt, you may ask me, bache. I'm here to clear your doubts. If anyone has any doubt, or please ask me, or just clear, all clear. Nice. If others about any confirmation from your sides, bache? Any confirmation from your sides? Please confirm it whether it's clear to you. No doubt, no doubt. Okay, fine. Clear. Are you sure? Are we all sure? I want responses from all the guys, bache. There are 64 students in my class, and I just got the response from only 5. You can either raise your hand, or if you can't type it, you can raise your hand, bache. Okay, fine. Thank you. So let me just again quickly create a poll for you guys to understand that whether you got it or not. Fine. Related to the network layer. Fine. So you have to answer me a particular question that in, let me write the question quickly. In IPv4 network, how many networks can be made? How many networks can be made for class C? Fine. It is 2 raised to power 14, 2 raised to power 21. Let me quickly write it. 2 raised to power 21, 2 raised to power 8, 2 raised to power 8, or 2 raised to power 17. So the question is for you guys that just understand it. In IPv4 network, how many networks can be made? I'm not talking about the addresses. I'm talking about how many networks which can be made for class C. For class C, the subnet mask is /24. For your reference, the subnet mask for class C is /24. You have to answer that how many networks which can be made for class C. Hurry up. 2 raised to power 14, or 2 raised to power 21, or 2 raised to power 8, or 2 raised to power 17. Hurry up. Very good. 20 students left, bache. Hurry up. Very nice. 17 more left. Hurry up, bache. Quickly. Yeah, right. Siddharth Gupta, Shubham Mandari, Vedant Puriyot. Bache, you have not answered. Prabjot, chill, you are not active in my class today, I think so. And I think I should have to take some steps that why you are not responding in my class. Network, sir, network or host. Bache, network. I'm talking about how many networks can be made, not host. I'm not talking about the addresses which can be. I'm talking about how many networks which we can made. Fine. Just 4 students left. Bache, hurry up. Quickly answer that. See, out of 64, 60 students have answered and still 4 left. And we should take some steps. Abhishek Kumar, Abhishek Singh. This is the second time I am saying you guys to that why you have not answered. 3 more left, bache. Hurry up. Fine. So the correct answer is 2 raised to power 21, bache. Very right. 51 students have answered rightly. See, I'm talking about how many number of networks which can be made. I know that there are how many bits which are fully occupied in class C. How many total number of bits which are fully occupied in class C, that subnet mask /24. Out of /24, there are 3 bits which are always been remain conserved as 110 number, which are already remain conserved for some of the IDs. So the right answer for total number of networks is 2 raised to power 21. If I talk about that how many addresses which can be made in a particular network, that is 2 raised to power 8. In each network, how many address spaces per network which can be made in class C, that is 2 raised to power 8. That is what I am talking about. In class B, in class B, we know that subnet mask is /16. So the total number of networks which can be made is 2 raised to power 14, and total of number of addresses per network, it is going to be 2 raised to power 16. Fine. In case of class A, we know that the total number of bits which are completely occupied is 8. So 2 raised to power 7 networks which can be made. And what is the total number of addresses per network? That means that is 2 raised to power 24, because there are 3 octets which remain uncovered in case of class A. That's what the difference is. I hope this is clear to you guys. Bache, I talked about the total number of networks, and the second is in each network how many addresses per network which can be made. Is it clear to you guys? Fine. So I hope that this is clear to you, and in the next lecture we will like going to start with our main topic, which is the very important topic, which is routing algorithms. And before leaving that session, please give your feedback. But it would be very beneficial for me to get it, that what are the things which we have to work upon. And I hope that it should be clear to you guys whatever we have been doing or whatever we have done in today's lecture. And I should take the report of the 4 students which have not answered in my class, and it will be it you will get the mail, Abhishek Kumar, Abhishek Singh, and Prabjot. You will get the you will get the notification from my side on your mail, including your class mentor or anything, so that we'll get to know that what are the things which are not working on your sides. Fine. So thank you. We'll meet in the next lecture.